You're one of the preeminent researchers. You've been on the scene for over 40 years. I think you're really responsible for David Icke and Zecharia Sitchin and, I don't know, numerous others coming to the fore, talking about secret societies, the Illuminati, and really the powers that be behind the scenes. And there's just no doubt that everyone, Hoagland, I mean, you name it, even Wilcock, everyone owes you a great thank you for bringing this subject matter to the fore and for your amazingly diligent research in this area. You're an amazing mind. You're really you're a national treasure, if you don't mind my saying so, here in America. And I know you've been noticed overseas in that respect as well. So, what do you have to say for yourself? Can you give a better introduction than that?
I would say that you are being very generous and very kind, and I appreciate all your words. But I view myself as just an ordinary person, just doing what I love to do, and that is to look behind the scenes of world events, how things really work. And I started doing this kind of research diligently. I grew up, even as a child, spending most of my time in the library where all the other kids were out playing. I was sitting in libraries, and so I've always been interested to know things that other people don't seem to even know exist. And I've always been interested in the secret side of life, all of the hidden things in the world that most people are not even aware of. I'm just fascinated with how much there is to know that most people don't even know exists. And so I grew up thinking that way, and by the time I was 19 years old, when I ended up in Los Angeles, I decided to dedicate my whole life to studying what I would call the world of the occult. The word occult simply means hidden. And so much of real knowledge and wisdom is hidden because the people who run this planet feel that true knowledge and wisdom of how the world really works is it's knowledge that you don't need to know. And all you need to do is just go out and do your job and have fun and watch your basketball and stay out of the way of the adults that run the world. I never bought that. When I was a child, I used to, of course, be happy when my family would have other families coming over to visit because they would bring their children and I would have people, I'd have kids to play with. But after dinner, the women would always end up in a group and they're talking women talk. And my dad and his brothers and whoever else was there, all the men would go in the front room and smoke the cigars and have the wine and talk men talk. And so my dad and my uncle especially would always say, well, you kids going out and play ball. And I would tell my uncle, because I loved my dad's brothers were wonderful. I loved them all. And so I would tell my uncle, I don't want to go out and play ball. I want to hear what you guys are talking about. Because I'm assuming if you want me to go out and play ball, that you're going to talk about something you don't want me to hear. I'm real curious to hear what you want to talk about that you don't want me to hear about. The entire superstructure of civilization in the Western world is a combination of brilliantly put together and planned, well-planned schemes to direct the minds of the people in such a way as to serve their masters. And I've known that for a long time. And one of the biggest tools in the hands of the masters who run this world is Hollywood. Hollywood is an incredible story. I've said this, and maybe many hearing me now have heard me say this, but I'll say it again, that the white man's establishment comes from Europe. And in northern, southern Well, all four, Northeast, South, and Western Europe, even at the time of the Roman Empire and before, that whole section of Europe that we call the center for the white man's presence on the earth was quite literally ruled over. Ancient Europe was ruled over by a priesthood called the Druids, and the Druids were they were the ministers, the priests, the judges, the lawyers. They were the religious leaders. So there was a priesthood that dominated Europe. It still does. Europe is still a Druidic country, and America is a Druidic country. And unless you understand the Druidic system, then you're never going to figure out what's going on in America and England. But one of the most important symbols in the Druid system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with the magic wand, and also the orchestra leaders and conductors always have a magic wand, and you had better play to the tune of the master. He directs you to play, and he directs you to stop with the magic wand. So you're dancing to his music, okay? Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And Hollywood is a Druidic establishment. And the symbols, the words, the terms, the stories are designed. Think about it. Think about how Hollywood does what they do. I'm not saying they're evil, I'm just explaining how Hollywood works. You have, first of all, a story. So somebody has to write the story. All right, so now you've got a story. Now you have to give it to a screenwriter who's going to adapt that story, excuse me, adapt that story into a screenplay. Because you can't just tell the story, you have to design it to be a movie. Now once you do that, then you're going to have the actors, very important actors, because you're going to need people to act the part. And so it doesn't mean that they actually have human feelings. No, they're being paid to act like they care, to act like they love someone. It's an act, and so you're paying actors to act out the part that the screenwriters have written, and you want to make sure the actors do it just right. So you have to have a director, and he's going to direct everything you say and do the way he wants it said. Then you have, of course, the producer, and he's also subjected to the executive producer who's producing the money. And so all of this is a whole system of putting together a system of a story that tells you a story. It causes you to think in terms of what you just saw, so that people go out from the movie and think in their minds, this is the way you normally would react to a situation, the way that the guy in the movie did. And so that's why today, in the Western civilization, especially in the West, our ability to work with each other and live together as humans is so screwed up. Because we've been watching so much television and so many movies, and so much silliness coming out of Hollywood, so much violence and sex and drugs and all the rest of it, that people have no idea in the world how to live anymore. They've lost their humanity.
Okay, so you're saying that in many ways Hollywood movies and television are actually sort of doing behavior modification.
Precisely.
On people to get them to behave in certain ways to think is socially acceptable, and then people actually go out and they act the way they're supposed to act rather than the way they really feel in a given situation.
Exactly. Precisely.
So it cements the social structure.
That's it.
And I do understand that. Would you also talk about how movies are revealing the Illuminati agenda?
Oh, God, yes. What a story that is. Absolutely. Even more so than you know. Even more so than you suspect. I think that we're talking about something deeper. The implications being that in all of the ancient world, there was always a concept in theologies of all the ancient cultures of the world used it, of twin towers. Twin, things. Twin churches, twin towers. That's why that whole thing about the New York Twin Towers, that is in your face if you understand the symbolism of twin towers and the Roman Empire and the Grecian Empire and Sumeria, Babylonia, especially in Egypt. They always had two obelisks. Yes. They always had the two towers, always. So there is a very powerful significance to the concept of twin towers. Very important. Okay. Symbolism.